What's up, everyone? Southside Braves here. Today for you, I got a St. Louis VGC video. Been a minute since I've done one of these. Sorry, I got kind of lazy with them, and they've stopped coming out for a while. But I didn't want all that information to be lost forever. So when you look at the information from this video, it will be from early December. Because again, I didn't want those stats and those points that players got at these events. I didn't want all that to be lost and not be highlighted. So I am going to the older stuff first. I will have one of these videos out a week until I get all the way caught up to the current stuff. Because again, I didn't want that stat and data and all that to get lost forever. So here it is. Hopefully you don't mind a little bit of older stuff. Thought it might actually be kind of cool to go back and look and see what we were doing in December. That was, of course, Reg H, so no restricteds. So yeah, all that being said, let's take a look at the usage here. And before I jump into the usage numbers here, I did want to highlight one of our senior players, Xavier, also goes by Noodle in the Discord in that. He reached out to me, wanted to take care of the graphics and that, and I am not an artsy person. I'm very bad at that. All my graphics you ever see in my videos are very basic, simple things. So what he created here was much better than anything I could create. So I want to give him a shout out and thank him for his help in this video. He actually gave this to me 2 months ago. So he was on top of it. I fell behind and I was lazy with it. So I still wanted to appreciate him for his work, even though I've been holding on to it for months. So thank him for what he did for this video. Now let's take a look at the actual numbers here. Again, this was Reg H, so no surprise seeing Sneasler up there at 44%. Incineroar always up there no matter what the regulation is at 38%. Two of the steel types there with Goldango and Archaludon at 31%. The surprise 31% on there probably is that Sinisha. I'm a big fan of Sinisha, but I think this is higher than I've ever seen it. And surprisingly, the third steel type's missing from our list. No King Gambit. We had consistently seen all three of those steel types, but not this particular weekend. Oh, and let me say this particular weekend was December 7th and 8th, and you'll see at the top there, it was both a collector store and a Quincy cup. So two different cups. This data is collected from both of them and combined. So number 6 there, we see Porygon tied with Amoonguss and Rillaboom. Again, 3 core mons that have been on teams for a while. And then we have Annihilate and Mousehold both at 19%. And we can assume that those 19% probably went together. They were probably on every team together. So that's the usage for these tournaments. Let's take a look at how the tournaments went. So again, another graphic here that was created by Xavier, so thank you again. We'll see the winner and second place for both these and a Pokemon that was on their team. So Matt won the collector store with a shiny Dragonite. We did particularly make that one shiny for him because we do know he used a shiny Dragonite. And he did beat Jared and his Primarina in these finals. And then over in Quincy, Leonard Kraft winning with a Crocodile and beating Chris in the finals with the Armarouge. So that is your winners. That is your usage stats for these events. Now, next thing I wanted to do here, unfortunately, I have no idea how the Quincy games went. I wasn't there. I didn't get to see those. The collector store, Professor Taylor, does a great job of trying to make those a bigger and bigger event for us. And I love that and appreciate that. He has been streaming these events more and more for us, and I wanted to highlight some of the highlight parts of each of the matches that he did stream. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through the matches that were on stream, just a couple plays from each of them here and there. If you want to see the full matches, I will make sure to link the St. Louis VGC YouTube down below, so you can go see the matches in their entirety from those events. But I kind of wanted to highlight them and show off some of the good work that Professor Taylor does for us in showing these matches. So again, if you're not interested in that and you're just here for the numbers and the stats, thank you for watching. But if you do want to see how these matches went, stick around, and that's what we're going to go to now. So first match we're going to look at here is our senior spotlight match, a match between two of our seniors, one of them being Xavier, again, the one that helped us with these graphics. And we're just going to take a look at how this match went. So bear with me, I did take some notes here to try to help me remember, because again, these were a while ago. And I wasn't at the event. I did not see them, and I was actually working when the stream was happening. So I watched all of these back after the fact and just some of my notes from them. So hopefully goes well. So this match starts off. We have Xavier leading the Mousehold and the I'm reading Pino on the screen, but the Palafin versus Stantler and Whimsicott. First Stantler I've seen. So we're going to go ahead and bear with me. First time I've done highlights on here. So this was first start of game one. Noodle or Xavier does get set up early here with the classic Mousehold and Annihilate. As we do see Colin go for the Whimsicott Tailwind and a Thunder Wave into Annihilate that could play a factor later in this game. But I don't see a ton of huge answers to this Annihilate here early once it gets this beat up, powering up that Rage Fist, as we know. All right. Bear with me, there's probably a better way to do these highlights, but... All right, and then later in the game here, we do see... Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. So Ursaluna gets the double knockout here. Trying to come back in this game. Due to... As you can see there, both Mons were paralyzed, both the Annihilate and the Palafin. So it helped Ursaluna get that double knockout and turning this into a very close game late. But it is going to come up just short to the Pelipper here in the end game. We're going to watch this Pelipper on this turn. As Pelipper is going to knock out the Stantler. As we watch the Stantler get knocked out. And a Blood Moon from Ursaluna here. Knocks Pelipper down to Sash. Then on the following turn, Pelipper will get the knockout here with a Weather Ball. So Pelipper stops the late game comeback attempts by Ursaluna. So that brings us into game two here. So in game two, early game, we see a little bit different. We see Cullen try to go on the offensive with Ursaluna earlier. So we're going to see the Tailwind get set up here by the Whimsicott, and the Ursaluna just put on a ton of pressure early game instead of trying to come back late game with it. So he gets set up here early with the Ursaluna. We're going to see the Hyper Voice, see how much it does here to the Archaludon. But now he's in a very good spot. Now it's even a crit. But he's in a good spot with the Ursaluna in Tailwind. So that's how that game starts early. And then as we jump to later in the match, because again, I don't want to show the whole match because that's what the St. Louis VGC site is for, or the channel is for. So again, we're just highlighting certain plays. That's how that game got started. And Cullen did a very good job of getting set up with Tailwind late, but unfortunately, this Palafin with Jet Punch doesn't care about the Tailwind. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to see it pick up. Both games, Cullen gets his opponent down to very low health at the end. 1 health in game 2, and you see both these have a combined 37 health here. But that Jet Punch, once again, doesn't care about the Tailwind. It's going to pick up the win here. And we're going to see Xavier pick up the win here in our senior spotlight match. So again, if you're interested in seeing that match in its entirety, check out the St. Louis VGC YouTube channel. That will be linked down below. So now let's get to our Masters division and some of their matches. So in round 1 here, we had... Toby versus Jared. So we see the leads here for game 1, Annihilate and Clefable. Oh, and this actually isn't the leads, I don't think. Oh, yeah. Hariyama switches out. Uh-oh. Come on. My computer's freaking out on me. Bear with me. Yeah, so we see the Annihilate and the Clefable versus the Hariyama and the Volcarona. I thought looking at this, Volcarona could be a huge threat in this match. So I think Toby does a great job here of dealing with the threat immediately. So we see one of the classic Annihilate strats here as Rillaboom switches in for the Hariyama. We see the Choice Scarf Final Gambit coming in from Annihilate to knock out that Volcarona. And again, eliminate a huge threat early in this match. Next up, it's a big play here in the game. We're going to see this Clefable go for Follow Me. Take this Rillaboom attack after the Helping Hand. And man, this is going to do some damage and knock out the Clefable. Helping Hand, Woodhammer in the Grassy Terrain. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have sets, and I don't know what item that Rillaboom is either. I'm curious how much that could have done. But that Follow Me does set up for the double KO from the Terrid Tyranitar and sets him up, Toby, in a great spot to finish off this game and win the match, or win the game. So that is game 1. So we will move on to game 2. And we're going to see game 2. We're going to see an adjustment here on the early game from Toby that I like. So he went for the Final Gambit play game 1. Here in game 2, he doesn't go for that same play. Instead, he uses the Choice Scarf Annihilate to coach up his Tyranitar and make Tyranitar the huge early game threat. So there's the Grassy Glide, which would have been big if he went for Final Gambit this time, but he did not. He did go for the coaching. Powers up this Tyranitar, and I love Terraflying Tyranitar. I've used it. And we're going to see this Terraflying Terrablast, I assume into the Rillaboom. I don't fully remember. Yep, into the Rillaboom. And with the coaching boost, that gets the guaranteed knockout. And yeah, so a great adjustment there from Toby for game 2. But this match is far from over. A big point into game 2 was that Jared kept his Corviknight around for so long that it actually stayed around long enough to get a second Tailwind up, which was massive for him late in this game. So as we see Tyranitar come back in, set up the sand. And on the same turn, Annihilate coaches him back up. So again, Tyranitar becomes a threat yet again. But again, getting this second Tailwind of the game up is really, really big for Jared. All right. Moving on to the next. Next play here is kind of two things. This is kind of the last chance to control the weather in the game, and we're going to see Jared win the weather war here by getting Ninetales in later to get the snow over the sand. And then the RNG in this turn is crazy. So Tyranitar dodges the Heat Wave. The Heat Wave burns the Excadrill. So Tyranitar should be dead. It's not. Excadrill is burned. This Poison Jab now doesn't kill because of the burn, but it does get the poison. So I wanted to highlight the RNG in this turn. It was nuts, the amount of stuff that happened. And again, both sides. That Tyranitar should be dead. The Volcarona should be dead, and the Excadrill should not be burned. So overall, a worse turn for Toby because of the RNG, but he did at least get the poison to help balance it out a little bit. But again, more impactful for him. That burn on Excadrill is huge. But his T-Tar is alive. So yeah, but that burn on Excadrill is huge. But again, just a lot of RNG on that turn. So moving on to game 3, because Jared did go on to win that game. And so we did have a game 3 here. So let's look how this game starts. Again, game 1, we had the final gambit play. Game 2, we had the coaching play. So here in game 3, we're going to see the Grassy Glide play into the Annihilate. And this time he does go back to the final gambit, which now the Corviknight does live because of the Grassy Glide damage. And so this was definitely a good turn 1 for Jared. Okay. I was like, where's the rest of the turn? Forgot how slow the game can be a little bit here. So, but crucially though, Toby does get Trick Room up on that same turn. All right. Thought this was an impactful turn. We see Ninetales switch out as Rillaboom comes in. Almost full health Rillaboom. As we do see Toby actually double up into this slot with the Terror Blast as well. So he catches the Rillaboom on switching and knocks it out. So getting rid of that Rillaboom was important for Toby. And again, catching that on the switching for the Ninetales was nice. After that, I feel like this highlight is not where I wanted it to be in the game. Let's try to... Hopefully this is the right turn that I wanted it to be. If it is, we're going to see Volcarona with a huge survival here. If this Volcarona goes down this turn, it's probably game over for Jared. Yeah, I think this is the turn. Yeah, yep. We're going to see the double up into the Volcarona. And it is not enough to kill. The Volcarona hangs on with so low health. And like I said, that is a huge survival for Jared's chances of winning this game. And he does get the Quiver Dance off. So, a couple more plays from this one. We're going to see Toby have the idea at this point. He's going to basically sack the Excadrill, and he's going to bet it all on Tyranitar in Trick Room winning this game. Because yep, he's going to sack the Excadrill. We're going to see Porygon hang on, get this Trick Room up, and now it has to be Tyranitar to finish the deal. Yep, again, Toby bet it all on this T-Tar. It goes for the Rock Slide, picks up the kill on Corviknight, doesn't quite pick up the kill on Volcarona. But it does get the flinch. That flinch secures the game for Toby. Whether or not, again, I don't know my damage calcs, I assume. And I don't know how many turns of Trick Room left. I don't know the full situations there. But that flinch just secures the game there for Toby to win in round 1 of Masters. So, jumping to round 3, because round 2 was that senior spotlight match, actually. So, round 3 here, we had Matt versus Will. 2 players I actually know a little bit better than Toby and Jared, who I'm sure are great people. I don't want that to sound like I don't know them as personally well as Matt and Will. So I'll know a little bit more about this one. All right, so starting here early. Game 1 here of Matt versus Will. We're going to see immediately terrestrializing the Ursaluna for Matt. As Will brings in the Indeedee, pop that seed for Sneasler. But turn 1 kind of tells the story of this whole first game. So we'll see close combat into Ursaluna. Ursaluna lives on 3. If Will picks up that knockout, he's in such a good spot early game. But he doesn't, so we're going to see the Make It Rain from the Goldango. Followed up by the Hyper Voice from the Ursaluna, and that's going to be a double knockout on turn 1 for Matt, and puts him squarely in the driver's seat of game 1, and he will go on to win game 1. Moving on to game 2 here, we're going to see a little bit of a different lead. Will leads more into his Dondozo mode that he's kind of known for. We're going to see Matt led the Dragonite and the Goldango. He's going to, or I believe he led them. This is turn 2 or 3 of the game. But he does switch out the Dragonite for the Sneasler, which will be big coming up. So we see this Dondozo mode activate, and it's boss battle time now for Matt to see what he can do about it. I don't actually know what happens the rest of this turn. This was just to kind of highlight the Dondozo mode was brought. So I'm going to let the rest of this turn play out, though. Shatterballed into the Tatsu spot. He's going to Wave Crash into the Sneasler and bring it down to Satch. So I told you I thought that Dragonite pivot was big, because that's what I think Matt did a very good job of in playing against this Dondozo. He positioned his Dragonite very well. Because so we saw, this is actually back-to-back turns here. We saw the Sneasler come in. He switches out the other spot to the Dragonite. So now he can fake out the Dondozo to get Dragonite back in for free. And now he has great haze pressure. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here. We're going to see Sneasler protect. We're going to see Dragonite Haze, who I do think early game had already set up a Tailwind. I think, if I remember correctly. And so now this Dondozo much, much, much more manageable. And here late in game 2, or I guess not late, later by a turn or 2, we're going to see Matt really secure the game by he's going to Terra Stellar his Sneasler. The close combat now into the Steel type with the Terra Stellar. Secures this knockout, allowing Dragonite to get up a second Tailwind to just put him, really just end the game. This really wins the match here for Matt, and Matt will go on to win this and be our round 3 winner. All right, so moving on to round 4 of Masters here. We had Jared versus Toby. All right. And kind of like one of the earlier games we spotlighted, game 1 of this starts off by getting one of the support Pokemon set, or one of the offensive Pokemon set up using Mouse Hold. We see the Archaludon switch in at the start of the game. I didn't catch what the lead was there in the Archaludon spot. But we're going to see the beat up, power up this Archaludon, and now Archaludon is ready to go against 2 physical attackers. It's in exactly where it wants to be. We're going to go ahead and skip the rest of this beat up turn. And I guess let's see what the T-Tar does. Knocked off Mouse Hold and safety goggles. So no, Mouse Hold can't get hit by Sandstorm. So, kind of the MVP here, I thought, for Toby in this first game was this Clefable. It did everything it could to stick around for as long as it could and allow its partner to try to work down this Archaludon and get back in the game. That Archaludon just became too much of a tank to do anything about. We'll see the Clefable even survived this Draco. But again, life due from Senesha with that boosted defense. It was just too much. Our Archalon's too set up. But again, I just wanted to highlight this Clefable. I thought he did play the Clefable well. Just, again, couldn't let that Archalon run away with the game like it did. Even Clefable going on the offensive a little bit here against the Archalon. So, MVP of the game for Toby in game 1, in my opinion, is that Clefable. So, this is still game 1 here. Toby still trying to fight back. We're going to see Archalon knock out this T-Tar. But we are going to see this Porygon finally take down, even after this life due, I believe. This is where Porygon finally takes down the Archalon that had been an absolute menace here in game 1. Down goes the Archalon. And then sadly here at the end of game 1, we're going to see how Clefable finally goes down. Who again, I thought Clefable had a great first game here. Unfortunately, though, we're going to see it go down to Toby's own Sandstorm, the double protect. Follow me. So Toby did a good job of trying to fight back after that Archalon setup. But unfortunately, with no safety goggles and a double protect, Sandstorm is going to take down the Clefable. And that secures game 1 for Jared. So moving on to game 2 here. Game 2 starts fairly similarly to game 1, except instead of the Archalon, this game, Jared is going to choose to set up the Annihilate. On the same turn that T-Tar does go into Terra Flying here. Big damage from the high horsepower. And then the beat up. Into a bulk up for the Annihilate. That bulk up is actually going to allow it to live this Terra Blast from Tyranitar. Just barely. But it does live and gets its berry to pop. So, has the Iapa berry. Don't know if I say that berry's name right, but that's what I'm calling it. One of the Pokemon to highlight in this match, or in this game for Toby, was this Excadrill put in so much work throughout this game, having it in sand and just kind of the way Archalon, well, I don't want to say the way Archalon ran wild in the first game, because Archalon did it very differently. But having the speed with the Excadrill in the sand put in a ton of damage this game for Toby. This is it finally being dealt with the body press from Archalon. And we're going to see late game in this one. We're going to just see that the Volcarona was able to clean it up here once the Excadrill went down. So that's Toby tying it up at 1 game apiece, and that's going to a game 3. Oh, I guess I didn't let this Senesha go down yet, but this would clean it up. That Archalon going down was the end of the game, basically, and Toby ends up winning this. So going on to game 3 here, we see Jared's adjustment with the Primarina here. And I'm just going to highlight this first turn of this one. Primarina being an adjustment for Jared. And the power of this Life Orb Talonflame was one of the more surprising things I saw in watching these games back. I was really impressed with how much damage this Talonflame could put out. So we're going to see it here. Big high horsepower into the Primarina. With this Terra Flying Life Orb Brave Bird, Oko's the extra, like, that thing does some damage. So I was impressed with that. That's really all we're going to highlight here in game 3, as Jared did go on to win this round 4 match. And again, if you want to see any of these matches in their entirety, check out the St. Louis VGC YouTube channel. I'm going to keep saying it. It'll be linked in the description. Taylor puts a lot of work into that. Go check that out, subscribe to it, all that good stuff. All right. So with that, we're going to move on to the semifinals. Of Mason versus Matt. Two players I know very well. And Matt actually messaged me. I'm going to call him out. He messaged me after this game, when this happened, because again, I didn't get to see these. I wasn't at it. He messaged that this was one of the most fun matches he'd played, and he thought this was a fantastic match. So if you are going to watch them, make sure you watch this one. And again, we're going to highlight some of the plays from it. So, oh, and I think I'm going to make one on-the-fly adjustment to make it line up better. Because Matt's on the left side here. So this really should say Matt versus Mason. I just want to make that line up better with what side they're on. Because Mason does love that Como. I love Como, and I've never seen someone use it better than Mason. So starting off this game here. One of the more important ones for Matt early here was actually this Dragonite. And with the Como on the field, he had to Terra Fairy, and he does Terra Fairy it early. And it kind of became the controlling point here of the first game. So again, Terra Fairy, that Como is just too much of a threat there to not. We'll see how the rest of this turn plays out. Terra's on both sides early in this game. Because again, both dragons scared of the other. Fake out into the now switched in Goldango. Scale shot into this Rillaboom, get the speed boost early. And claiming Scales doesn't affect Dragonite now, will still affect the Goldango, and I believe this is where he gets his Throat Spray boost, or did he already have it? Guess he already had it, I believe. At least I think so. Maybe not. Maybe he was a different item. Thought usually he was Throat Spray and that procced it, but I might not know what I'm talking about. So let's move on to the next turn. Alright. So here's later in game 1. We're going to see Mason's Rillaboom here make a play. Hospitality boost from the Sinistcha is going to allow this Rillaboom, after we see the Scale Shot into the Sinistcha, now we will see this Rillaboom be able to live this Shadow Ball thanks to the Hospitality health from the Sinistcha. Barely hangs on, and it's going to get this big Wood Hammer onto the Terra Fairy Dragonite and pick up the critical hit knockout. No idea the calcs on their stats for either one of these Pokemon, if that crit mattered or not. I assume it probably didn't, but I don't really know. But Rillaboom does knock itself out, and this is going to be too little, too late in game 1 for Mason. As we do see how this game 1 ends here. As we're going to see the Goldango and the Sneasler clean up late from the work that Dragonite had done early and knock out this Como to win game 1 for Matt. All right, so moving on to game 2 here. Big thing about this lead here for Matt is there's no real pressure on the Goldango. He doesn't have a dark move, I believe, on the Sneasler. He does get a para on Rillaboom, but I don't think he has anything to pressure the Goldango, and this allows Mason to just get free nasty plot up with it, and there's really nothing Matt could have done about it with this lead, so that Goldango becomes a huge threat immediately. All right. And we're going to see later in this game, too, Sneasler did a ton of work in this fight, or in this game. It did a ton of damage, and we're going to see clanging scales there. But this Goldango sat on the field the entire game, and just did what it wanted to. We're going to see this make it rain. That early game nasty plot, just allowing Mason to have it for free, really was the story of game 2. So that brings us to game 3 between these two. And here in game 3, we're going to see the decisions these players make on turn 1 here. Once again, I believe this is turn 1. We're going to see this time around, Matt prioritizes the Tailwind over the Scale Shot like he did game 1. And we're going to see Mason try to go on the offensive here with Rillaboom. He goes Terra Grass, and we're going to see a Wood Hammer here in the terrain. So, protects the Goldango. Shadow Ball in the Goldango that protected. And again, we're going to see the Rillaboom and the Dragonite have this tussle again. It won't be the last time we see these two. Dragonite goes for the Tailwind support option, and Mason's Rillaboom here goes for the big damage with Wood Hammer into the Goldango. Not quite enough to pick up the knockout, but very good damage into that Goldango. All right, and I told you we were going to see more of that Dragonite Rillaboom matchup. Here it is. This is a huge play here in game 3. We're going to see Matt's Goldango protect now. And now we're going to see this. We're going to see Grassy Glide first, try to pick up knockout into the protect. And now we're going to see this Scale Shot. Well, I guess, yeah, Scale Shot into the Rillaboom. Which my math here tells me this is not going to knock out. Until that happens. A big crit and the 5 hit on the Scale Shots to secure the knockout on Rillaboom. I think he needed both the crit and the 5 hits. I don't think either one or the other would have been enough. Pretty much guaranteed that based on what we just saw. So huge crit to knock out that Rillaboom. And we're going to see a nasty plot for Mason's Goldango, though. All right, and then this is a huge play going the other way here. So Matt gets up another Tailwind. And he gets an Earth Power into the Goldango, but it's not enough to kill. It's going to allow Como to set up. And on the same turn Como is setting up, Goldango is going to pick up a double knockout with Make It Rain. So this allows Como to have a chance to win this game late for Mason. He needed the setup and he got it. So that turns this thing into a late game 1v1 between Sneasler and Como. We see the Sneasler with the close combat. It will pick off the Como, who had been poisoned the turn previously. These two had a little 1v1 fight here at the end. I didn't show the whole thing, just the final knockout from it. But that does mean Matt went on to win the match versus Mason in a very close 3-game set. That means Matt is going on to our finals. So let's take a look at that finals match. Oh no. Sorry, Matt. I had them on the wrong side the last time, and now I had Mason in instead of Matt. Sorry about that. All right, so now let's look at the highlights from the finals. So early game here in game 1. Our Chaladon had been set up by the beat up already by the Mousehold, but Haze on this Dragonite coming through yet again for Matt in this tournament. It was big against Wills and Dozo early. It comes up big now against the Archaladon. Just having Haze on that Mon has been huge for this entire event for Matt. All right. And a Snarl from the Archaladon. All right, and I told you, one of my highlights of this whole tournament was this power on Talonflame. This Brave Bird picks up the KO on Dragonite. I don't know if it had negative defense or not with Scale Shot. I don't think it did at this point. I think that's why I included it here, because that, like I said, Talonflame's pure offensive power in this tournament surprised me quite a bit. And it also lives that Shadow Ball. And then the Snarl will pick up the Goldango. So a big turn for Jared there. All right, and this is still game 1 here. We're going to see a switch out from Archaladon as Ursaluna's threatening the Earth Power and Sneaser's threatening the close combat. So we're going to see a great switch here into Annihilate as he protects Talonflame, but not just a switch to Annihilate. Something else happens here that's huge for him. Again, close combat does nothing because of the ghost typing. And then the Earth Power into Annihilate also gets a special defense drop, which activates that Defiant boost, and Annihilate will go on to finish off and win game 1 here for Jared. So, going into game 2, Jared up a game here. He has a surprise double up into the huge Ursaluna threat with a Super Fang Flare Blitz combo, and it takes out Ursaluna immediately. Matt is on the huge back foot here against Jared, already down a game, and he just lost one of his biggest damage dealers in that Ursaluna. But he does get Tailwind up with Dragonite at least to salvage something from the turn. All right. And here is a play that had to be made by Matt to try to get back in this game. Again, Talonflame will protect itself from the E-Speed. And Goldango will set up a nasty plot. Again, kind of vital to try to swing this game for Matt. We will see a beat up offensively into the Goldango. And it actually does not insufficient, like not insignificant damage. So, I think it's the first time I've seen beat up used on an opponent, but it did do something. All right, and then this is still game 2 here. We're going to see Scale Shot into the Mousehold from the Dragonite, but that is not why this clip is on here. Jared is fully in the driver's seat, knock out this Dragonite, and pretty much win the game. So he does go into beat up, into Annihilate. To get these defense boosts, we're going to skip past this beat up a little bit. Only does 2. Make It Rain knocks out the Mousehold. Gets another stamina boost. And then the Draco Meteor miss into the Dragonite, which then allows him to go for the Haze on the following turn. So, huge Draco miss for Jared. And that does bring us to a game 3. All right, so now jumping into game 3 here. This is turn 1 of the game. We've seen what a problem this Dragonite's been. We see the feint onto it to break the multi-scale, which I do believe it had. I believe it was multi-scale Dragonite. As it does go for Tailwind. And then the Moonblast eliminates the huge Dragonite threat turn 1 for Jared. I feel like even though this is 1-1 and we're in game 3, Jared's been on the front foot this finals set against Matt. Uh-oh. Okay. So this was a matching Tailwind, I believe, from Jared. I believe Matt already had the Tailwind up. But this Terra Normal Ursaluna with the Goldango next to it became too much late game for Jared to handle the offensive pressure of these two. Again, I believe they had been in Tailwind up until this point without the enemy, without Jared being in Tailwind. So, big snarl on the two special attackers, but it is a little bit too little too late. This Earth Power comes in, knocks out the Archaludon, and that will win it for Matt, who does win this event for the Masters. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Again, a little bit new to me, so it'll get better as we go. Any events in the St. Louis area that have streams or have ways of letting me watch the matches back, I will try to include this. Again, if this isn't your thing and you just want to see the numbers and the standings, that's fine. But again, please do subscribe to the St. Louis VGC channel. Professor Taylor does a great job setting up these streams and making these more and more of an event every time. Again, sorry for a couple... first off, sorry for delayed in getting this video out and some of the issues with the highlights and some of the graphics that I had wrong. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy. Again, shout out to Professor Taylor, shout out to Xavier for help with the graphics, and shout out to everyone that helps me get these stats together. I know, especially from Quincy, Chris, and Leonard helped me get a bunch of the stats from there from time to time, so appreciate those guys. And yeah, let me know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, what I should add, what I should take away, anything like that. And again, these videos should be coming out each week from now on. And yeah, all that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please do like and subscribe to the channel in the video. Would really appreciate that. And yeah, that's all I got. Have a good day and a good night, everyone, and I'll catch you all in a future video. Bye, guys.